Cinema Siren.
Yeah, I mean, this thing's really just about family. It used to actually be called One in a Billion when we thought we were making a movie about the search for love and the improbability of finding this Patel girl that my parents wanted me to end up with. But then when we realized it was about family, that's when it changed to Meet the Patels. There's a little inside trivia for you.
I think that's a good tidbit, but I think it's really interesting that your parents, I mean, it really is, you get into it, the story is meant to be, the linchpin of it is they want to find somebody for you, which was very gracious of you to not be like, no.
But that's not where it came from. That's not where it came from. I think if it was something that I was doing just to appease them, I don't think it would have been worth trying, nor would it have been even slightly useful. Anyway. It would have been useful. Would have been useful personally, right? Because, it's that kind of thing where it's like I can't help you unless you're willing to help yourself. Like, I always knew I can't just do something like search for love for my parents. I can't do that. What I can do is and this is what happened in the movie was, I just broken up with Audrey. Then I'm on this 18-hour flight to India where my sister has just bought this camera and she's got it on me. And we're having these conversations where I'm talking about how crazy it is that I hid this white girlfriend and
that was a really interesting scene too because it's a little intense.
Oh, it's super intense to have to do that. And then, what I was telling Geeta on that flight is what's crazy is if I went to any of my non-Indian friends and they know that I hid Audrey from my parents, they'd judge me like I'm a terrible person. But if I go to an Indian and tell them about the girlfriend I've had for 2 years, the white girlfriend I've had for 2 years, the first thing they say is, "You didn't tell your parents about her, did you?" That's crazy that we live in both of those worlds. And then on top of that, I have these resumes that all say the same last name as mine on them, and I'm meant to cold call them and say, "Hey, I heard that, some person neither of us know.
You're not married.
Thought we'd be good together to get married." Yeah, I was like, "Isn't that crazy?" And I know tons of people who have incredible stories like mine that are hilarious, sometimes tragic. I've heard stories of suicide, and that was I don't even remember what I was talking about. But
you were talking about the fact that it didn't start out as the structure was not about. And you didn't, but what I loved actually that I think draws people into the movie is your mom saying if you don't want to do it, we're not going to do it. You have to be willing to do it, or we're not going to do it with you. But they are, I love your sister off camera because I just keep wanting to get out of there. Come on, get on camera.
Her presence just kind of sneaks up on you in the silence. My decision to do it came out of, my parents. They're in love, and they did it. They met each other for 10 minutes. They got an arranged marriage. And then also I have friends and family who are American-born who did it this kind of modern, semi-arranged way that we discussed in the movie, that the stuff that I did, where I'm getting these resumes, these matrimonial resumes, and going out on dates.
There's plenty of matchmakers that do that.
There's matchmakers who do that, the wedding season stuff, the Patel convention. But none of these, by the way, are that unlike what everyday people do.
That's what I mean. There's
internet dating's the same thing. It's filters.
Right.
The only difference is with this, it's your parents are involved, and it's a little more intense at the top.
And also, there's such an element in all of this that separates out what it's like to be American and also Indian. But that can be true for any two sets of cultures that are living in the same world at the same time.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're being judged by your color and you're American. So you're in America, not being judged mostly, except when you're around some of your Indian friends, they did also understand what that was about.
Yeah, but I think that's almost like subtext under the kind of bigger thing, which is just generational, reconciliation, which I think everyone understands.
Mm-hmm. In terms of that,
we all know what it's like to have a family and to have differences and to want to make each other happy, and we all know what it's like to fight with our family and how ugly it gets,
and lying to them,
and lying to them, and being forceful upon them out of love, being the ugliest versions of ourselves out of disrespect and fear and out of lack of gratefulness because this thing can't go away. I mean, we get all these dynamics in family, and we get that on top of all that is the thing that keeps us together through all this, which is love.
With you and your mom,
Mm-hmm.
and when you guys are interacting with each other and having struggles.
Yeah, which, by the way, I think that's the main kind of relationship in the movie almost.
Right. And
she puts up the most resistance.
She does. She has a lot of resistance, but also she's very straightforward in how she feels, which I love also to see in the film. I don't think that there's not a whole lot of pretense with your parents. They're pretty straightforward. They're pretty straightforward.
Man, I could use a little pretense, I'll tell you what. Just a touch of pretense would be great. Your family's like that too?
Oh, yeah.
What are you?
I'm French. From France.
I don't know anything about the French. What are these families like?
They're blunt. They're blunt and straightforward, and they're a little bit like...
A lot of similarities to mine?
Well, yeah, other than the actual culture aspects.
Yeah, sure, but in terms of...
very similar, very straightforward.
Of the lack of privacy and
right up in there, up in there. Oh,
yes,
yes, and I love it. I'm totally cool with it.
Oh,
Lucky
to have it.
It's great to have such a huge global understanding in your film. So many different kinds of cultures have the same exact problem of them being all up in your face.
Yeah.
But I loved that your mom when she was upset, she was really upset. And you didn't hide it. It was in the film.
Yeah.
And she just walked around really grumpy for a while.
Yeah. But it's like, and this is something I learned in getting to watch them as a director, which is such a gift to be able to see your most loved ones in kind of a new third party, kind of unbiased perspective.
Right.
And even to see yourself, by the way, in that perspective is life-altering. It was intensely introspective for me to see myself as a character in a movie when I'm editing myself.
Did you think you were nice, or were you like, oh my God?
Oh, I rolled my eyes. I mean, have you, it's like when you watch yourself on camera or listen to your voice, you're like, oh man, I suck. Oh my God.
Thank God.
I'm so sorry, world. Like, what is that really? That's what I look like? Why do it make
my voice?
Like with me, I'm like, oh my God, I'm a Muppet. I stop doing these things.
No, you can't.
I can't. It's me. It's who I am.
Is it when you try to stop a frame for whatever reason? Because that's how I am. I'm like, there is no stopping it. I'm like,
you can't get out of it. And you're like, oh. That's my favorite part is when the camera's done and when I'm done editing, so at least I don't have to see myself. Everyone else can. But in editing Mom and Dad, I came to appreciate them in a whole new kind of level that I don't think
as people,
because it was like from a third party. I'm looking from the outside in, kind of like maybe like you when you watch it. It's like I fell in love with them all over again. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm so lucky to have these people in my life. And there's something...
They are lovely, and they're loving to you.
They're so loving to me, and, I'm taking a long route to responding to what you said a second ago, which is they're so much more intelligent and articulate than I ever really gave them credit for.
Oh.
Both of them. Even Mom, like when you talk about the way
are.
They are. Like even the way Mom, when you look at that, when you watch that movie and you see how she communicates in those scenes, you're like, wow. Like she doesn't
have a lying bone in her body.
She doesn't have a lying bone. And you're like, oh my God, like this might be the most emotionally intelligent person I've ever seen. Seriously.
She was pretty straightforward with that.
And then you see my dad and you're like, oh, this guy's like Yoda or something.
Right.
Like he's got like, this guy's like some sort of a spiritual guru. It's like both of these guys are like, it's like I get it. Like people come out of this movie when we go to festivals or people rush Mom and Dad. Like they are brand.
They're always there.
Yeah, and I didn't get it at first. I'm like, what? I'm like, I get they're funny, but I get it. It's like, now that I've lived with it even more and been able to see, it's like, yeah, they're phenomenal people.
Yeah. Why do you think, because they don't ever really say in the movie, which I find interesting, in experiencing the entire film as being on the inside and on the outside, why do you think how is it that they fell so in love? What is it about the two of them? because that must be something you look for or looked for,
Well, that was almost the part that was confusing. And, when they wanted me to get married the way they did, I'm looking at them and I'm like, well, look, it works.
What am I supposed to do to have that?
Yeah.
That's not something you can
and
find
what they would
that
tell
easily.
you is, what they would tell you is, with them, it's if you work hard enough at compatibility, all these things that are on the biodata, whether it's height, weight, skin color, and horoscope, or what village you're from, and religion, all these specific things that line up. I think, didn't make the movie, but there's like 36 what's called gras. Gra. It's a Hindu or Sanskrit word. And, Hindi, jeez. And 36 like kind of requirements. And those are of compatibility that they look for. And I've never said this in any interview, by the way.
Oh, good.
Just giving it's my first time remembering it in like 5 years. So they would tell you that those things lined up so well.
What are they?
And
What kinds of things are in them?
I mean, it's all these kinds of it's the height, the weight, the horoscope.
All of those are in the 36?
Very specific biostats, and then hobbies and sibling situations and parent situations and
But that's all gra.
professions, and that's called gra. Yeah.
All of that is.
Yeah, I don't remember all of them anymore, honestly, but I remember being fascinated by it. And
Where does that come from?
I don't know. I mean,
That's
this whole
trippy.
thing, yeah, I imagine it comes. Everything with Indians is eventually derived from religion, so I'm sure it has some sort of religious roots. I don't know exactly what. I'm definitely going to go read about it after
I know,
this.
me too.
Gruh, I think is how it's spelled.
What I think is weird.
I feel like I'm going to get a lot of Facebook messages about hey man,
How can you not know about this? What the hell? Yeah. Well, I do believe that compatibility is essential. Absolutely. I've been with one person a really long time.
How long?
And 20-something years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like my favorite person. I mean, he's a trip and he's a pain, but he's one of my.
He's your favorite guy.
He's my favorite guy. Yeah, he's super cool.
Do you guys have kids?
No, he has kids.
Oh, okay,
But,
great.
yeah, but
that's better. You didn't have to go through the pain. Yeah.
yeah. So,
yeah.
But I think so. I was on their team as far as all of this.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the best thing about the entire movie is that you can be in any position of any person in the movie and understand. Or at least attempt to understand what they're going through. Because you got your parents, oh, please be happy like us. And then you, I love my parents, okay. And then it's your sister who's like, maybe if I do this with him, I'll get closer to him. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what everyone's motivation was, but it's certainly an interesting experience in seeing the best, I think, quality of the movie is you are trying to be in everybody's position.
I love that you said that. I mean, it really warms my heart to hear that because that is something that we put a lot of effort into imbuing into each character. We put a lot of effort into, Geeta and I would ask, so it was like, what would make you fall in love with this guy? What would make you fall in love with mom? What would make you fall in love with dad? One, because that's the person that deserves to be in a story, but also because that is the best way to accurately kind of fully portray a person. Mm-hmm. It would have been easy to antagonize mom.
Or make one person the protagonist in the film, and there really isn't necessarily one. I
mean, I've seen this story in 100 different movies, and it's pretty simple. It's I'm American, and my older parents are weird.
Yeah.
And that's the whole movie. It's like, I'm American, and I don't get why I have to deal with this. It's the namesake.
Yeah, it's a million movies.
Which is great, but it's like, by the way, great.
Yeah,
But that's not our reality. And so, with us, it was a decision of, like, authenticity and paint each character with as much love as possible, not only out of respect to them, but because it'll when hopefully people are able to experience it through any of them.
how do you juxtapose?
Like, can I give you one more example? Yeah. Like, people go into this movie and they think they know what it's going to be, and they have all these preconceived notions about the Indian stuff, especially. They're like, oh, this marriage stuff, or this guy hiding his white girlfriend. So many people come up to me after watching this movie and they're like, wow, that was really educational.
And fun.
Reframed, super fun, but reframed how I looked at all that stuff in a way that I never knew. Or I know my Indian friend now better. Or I know my Jewish friend better now.
Right.
It made me think about my own stuff. It's awesome.
What I was going to ask you is, what is the, because you're talking about making it more authentic by approaching everyone with love, but you also have to carve out of a lot of stuff, a story. So where's the challenge in carving? Is the whole thing about approaching each character with love and that's how it happened?
No.
Or tell me how it happened.
Yeah. So structurally, we knew we wanted to make a romantic comedy. Mm-hmm. That was the challenge we kind of gave ourselves. Have you seen this movie called The Cove?
Mm-mm.
Won the Academy Award for documentaries probably 6-7 years ago. It's about like dolphins. It's like an Ocean's 11 feeling dolphin movie. So what that movie did is when you're watching it, you feel like you're almost watching a heist film. It feels like you're watching Ocean's 11, but it's a documentary.
Right.
So like, what if we can do that with a documentary, but throw a romantic comedy on top of it? So we took a romantic comedy beat for beat. Geeta and I studied we were like big. I mean, this was my film school. We write down cards for start beating out every romantic comedy. We'd write down different things about archetypes, different kind of stylistic.
Gratefully, there weren't that many.
All these things.
Any of them
what?
In a romantic comedy. It's pretty straightforward.
No, it's actually. I mean, like the good ones are really. I mean.
Oh yeah, the good ones are great, but they still have archetypes. Yeah, still have very similar archetypes. They still
Boy
have
meets
similar,
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loss, gain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's all save the cat. Yeah. So so we started dealing with romantic comedy, and also just how do we kind of like subconsciously create a sense of nostalgia that genreifies it in the experience? Because that's the trick. Someone goes into a documentary, they put on their documentary face, right? Documentary heart, it's all there. We're like, how do we get them to turn the switch to romantic comedy? So that means like all this broad music, all these elements that are consciously or subconsciously drawing them back to the times when they were watching romantic comedies. The Harry Met Sally interviews, the broad music, even the comedy or the Arrested Development type stuff written on the screen, all that kind of stuff.
And the animation, actually.
The animation,
still does
of
that.
course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was all an attempt to just structurally creating something that would feel like a narrative film, but the big step forward for the whole thing, and this now I'm answering your question, is it was when we realized, what I said earlier to you, which was we thought it was about a search for a girl, so it was structured boy meets girl. And then one day we had this epiphany, be like, wait, this is about family.
And our family.
So we switched the girl with mom and dad, and even more so, we switched it with mom, because she was she's the one who has the most resistance in the family. So from that, now that we knew we had these guideposts of like tracking the relationship with mom, specifically like as it pertains to the midpoint in the story, and then once to that extent she is the antagonist, okay. But then, so now that we know structurally she's our antagonist. So what do we want to do? We want to humanize our antagonist as much as possible, is what we said. And that's where the love thing came in. And
also bring them, they have the arc. And what's interesting is because she's not the main character initially in the story, that's how everybody is appealing. Sort of, I don't know if it's inadvertent or what, but it's like she wasn't the main character, but turning her into that in the romantic comedy, having her be the woman, it makes everyone shift in their roles a couple of times in the movie, and makes it more interesting. Which, I mean, it would have been interesting anyway, right? But it's still kind of like, oh, okay, so now we're shifting, and I want to know about Geeta. I want to know what's going on with you and your dad, who's in the car with the talking to you thing, which is just the best thing ever. Like, open your mouth and say something both amusing and pithy every single time.
That's what he does.
My
It's
dad's
insane.
that way too.
Yeah.
We should
Problem
be
is, I
so
think he
lucky.
knows it, so he does it even more.
Oh yeah. Well, they're all like.
And now, who knows what happens now? I mean,
now that he's like the star.
oh,
when he goes
it's
to all
like
the
it's a
festivals.
cuteness overload. I mean, it's too. They're like becoming famous. It's the next few years exhausting.
There are worse things than people appreciating your parents for what they are.
There are worse things.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today about your movie. And
thank you.
Meet the Patels is the movie, and you really should watch it because it's charming and it's also kind of educational, about opening your heart and stuff like that.
Can I tell them the website?
Oh yeah,
It's www.meetthepatelsfilm.com, where you can get tickets and screening times. And I would also say, if you go to our Facebook page, which is, I'm assuming, facebook.com/Meet the Patels.
Yeah,
Hopefully, just search in Meet the Patels.
Yeah,
and you will see that my dad is now on Facebook and intensely active and will reply to anything that you post within minutes. And he's also ordered his own marketing materials because he feels like we're not doing a good job of marketing the movie.
Oh.
So he ordered Meet the Patels yard signs and posters, and if you ask him for them, he will send them to you.
Oh,
this is
the
a real
cutest
thing.
In the whole interview, that's the cutest thing.
He
You're
works
doing
10 hours a day on this movie. Cute overload. Patel
Yeah,
takeover, that's the hashtag.
Are you kidding? Is it?
Not.
Oh well, gotta love your dad, man.
Oh, he sent me a picture a few weeks ago. They were at a wedding, and right before the ceremony at an Indian wedding, there's the procession where like they're on the horse or the elephant or whatever, and they're all dancing around. That's how it goes. And he sends me a picture of that, and you see the groom on a big horse, and next to the horse is a girl in the middle of the crowd of dancers holding a Meet the Patel sign.
Go dad.
Brand integration.
Patel takeover.
Yeah.
Brand integration. Yeah. Yay! Well, thanks a lot.
This is so much fun. Thanks.
Thank you.